Welcome to Week and Geek, your new comics preview for October 8th. I'm Mike Ortiz.
And I'm the Chris Brown.
What do you got?
I'm going to lead off here with, this is the next big event, crossover book for Marvel. This is Axis #1. Part of the reason I'm leading off with it is because I've actually read it. They sent me that party variant a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
So I actually, you send me stuff weeks ahead of time, and I can totally catch up. Because then I'm ahead. That totally works for me. Otherwise, I'm probably behind. I had not really been reading the Uncanny X-Men stuff or Uncanny Avengers, so I didn't really understand all the things that were going on with the Red Skull and having become the Red Onslaught. But it looked cool. I'll be honest, I didn't mind kind of jumping in the middle of it. Like, not already knowing made it feel a little less tedious.
Okay.
So I sort of jumped in, was like, oh, all right. Oh, and Falcon's already Cap. Oh, and Cap's an old man. Other things that hadn't happened yet at the time that I read them, so now they kind of got caught up. It's kind of interesting, you know, they've got to stop these things from happening, and they get inside the Red Skull's brain, and I believe there was some talk with Charles, and so there's some stuff going on. There's talk about, you know, like, oh, so we could have prevented all this and this from happening to Charles if, you hadn't killed him. Way to go there, Cyclops, way to go. It's not bad, you know, it's the beginning of the next big crossover event. So I'm probably really going to like this for about 6 issues, and then the last 3 are probably going to be like, huh?
Yeah.
And then I'll complain, and I'll read the next event. You know, and it'll go in that cycle, as it does. Then I've got Rocket Raccoon issue #4. This is Words and Pictures by Scotty Young. I really like this book. This is yet another, as I've said before, Rocket always says, ain't nobody like me but me. Well, that's not true. There's another, I'm going to say, you know, raccoon, but he's not really a raccoon, but it is, whatever it is. There's someone like him, and they're going around committing crimes, making it look like him. Of course, it's not him. So this is kind of continuing that adventure. It looks like we got now like some kind of robotic rabbit as well. I don't know, I kind of like the anthropomorphic things. That stuff's always fun to me, the Peter Porker, Spider-Ham, and the Captain Carrot and the Zoo Crew, and it's kind of fun. They're doing some wacky stuff over there in the Rocket Raccoon. Next up, this is a book here. This is The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, issue #1. I've got the Rosemary's Baby cover there, which is kind of fun. This is, you know, the last thing was the Afterlife with Archie was so popular, they now got Roberto Aguirre-Sacasa writing a Sabrina book. Yeah. Which is great if they hadn't taken like 4 months off of Afterlife with Archie. The last issue of Afterlife with Archie actually was a 0 issue for this.
Oh, wow.
It was her past and everything that she was doing, and it was decent, but it wasn't what I paid for. I wanted the next issue of Afterlife with Archie, not, you know, you lead me into the next thing that I'm probably going to read anyway. Now, this is not a direct tie-in with Afterlife with Archie, however. This is supposed to be kind of like a throwback to kind of more 70s horror. This isn't straight-up zombies. And it kind of looks like that. It looks like this is an old 70s Marvel or DC horror book starring Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Look kind of fun. You know, I'm curious about them trying to... As we mentioned before, one of the most progressive books on the stands is, Archie. Yeah. So now that they're trying to stay relevant and getting into the horror stuff with some of those characters that always rode that fine line, I like it. And I think Sacasa's a good writer for that stuff.
Definitely.
Next, I've got Black Market. This is issue #4. This is about the brothers that are essentially killing superheroes, stealing their organs, and then kind of, you know, selling them on the black market so other people can get superheroes or superpowers as well. It's kind of an interesting story, you know, the downtrodden loser who kind of gets sucked into all this nonsense, and, you know, he's just caught right in the middle. At first he didn't realize he was one of the bad guys. Now he realizes he's one of the bad guys. It's a good book. I like the idea of black market superhero organs. Kind of interesting. Next up, this is a book by Boom. You know, I've been liking that Boom stuff, as was Black Market there. This is Thomas Alsop by Chris Miskevich and Pally Schmidt. I like this book. This is about a family that has been charged with protecting the island of Manhattan by the island itself. We now find out that there were some dark things that were brought over, you know, as immigrants were coming to this country, and something had been buried under the property that had become, you know, the Twin Towers. Okay. So when that was released, some things happened, so it's kind of, it's tying in, it's an interesting Manhattan story linked very firmly into kind of the Twin Towers and the events of that day. but with some black magic surrounding it.
Interesting.
And, I can only imagine if you were living in New York at that time, that was something that was powerful. And, we were still seeing stories being written by people who were younger when it happened and whatever, and that's going to stick with people.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a good story that I'm intrigued by, unlike, the radical conservatism that embraced Frank Miller on that day. Other people that are just kind of telling an interesting story and as they were affected by those events, but weaving it around those events. I find that intriguing. Again, unlike the radical conservatism of Frank Miller, who I think has become a lunatic. I understand. It's a very powerful event. That man lost his mind. Next up, I've got Copperhead, issue number 2 by, this is Image Comics. This is Jay Farber and Scott Godlewski. This is a detective tale, more of that procedural kind of, I don't watch NCIS, but I like shows in that vein. If it's on in the background, I'll totally watch it. Comics are I feel like there's so many comics kind of doing the same thing on a planet or a space station, and, new partners get teamed up, and they're unlikely duo. Feels a little bit like Alien Legion in reverse, where she's the odd one, because she's kind of the human, and, her partner that was already there was the alien type. There's humans in here as well, but that first issue I liked. It was intriguing. Decent stuff. Getting through this quick. There's it's kind of a light week this week, so I had a lot of Image stuff. We even did a little trade off before the show started because we both were a little light this week. This is Birthright, issue number 1 by Josh Williamson. I really like the stuff he's doing. I really liked Ghosted, which that's still going. I've fallen a little behind. The only reason it's not in my stack today, which also came out today. He's doing that RoboCop thing over there, over at Boom. Yep. He had done Xenoholics, which I really liked, with Seth DeMoose, who very talented artist, really, really cool guy. I've met him a little bit through Dirk Manning, and seems like a really good dude. It's kind of a bummer that book didn't take off. Now everything else Joshua Williamson's doing is taking off. This is, I think I read a little preview in one of the other Image books, and I don't really remember exactly what happened. I remember there's something about a kid. He goes missing, and, on his birthday or whatever. And there's some other just strange things going on, is what we later find out. Looks like there's some medieval things going on in those woods, and looks a little bizarre and fun, but it's a Josh Williamson book, and I'm, more than willing to give that a shot on that first issue. So that was the gist of my really short stack. What do you got?
I'm going to start off with Manhattan Projects. This is, again, by Jonathan Hickman and Nick Pitara. This is a weird book. It is his kind of behind the scenes of history. The Manhattan Projects is still the secret super smart guys.
Right.
And then there's also Star City, which is the Soviet version of that. At this point in the book, and it's hard to describe this book because it's kind of all over the place, the Soviet Union has been kind of infiltrated by aliens who have taken over Khrushchev and Brezhnev. They've also taken over Fidel Castro and Che Guevara down in Cuba. And it looks like in this, they're also taking over Lee Harvey Oswald. So Lyndon Johnson has now become aware of the Manhattan Projects because Kennedy is too busy having sex to oversee this stuff. So it looks like this is tying into the truth behind the Kennedy assassination. In addition to that, the cosmonaut dog, not the cosmonaut dog from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay.
This cosmonaut dog had been lost in space. Had been found by some aliens who put him in kind of an alien zoo. When those aliens came under attack, all of the creatures in the zoo fled, including the dog Loika, a spy robot that lies all the time, and another alien. Meanwhile, Loika gets exposed to some weird chemical that evolves her, and now she has kind of like a anthropomorphic, two-legged, humanish body with the dog head. And this book is just crazy.
Weird. Yeah, and the whole time you were talking, I had the theme song to Lost in Space in my head.
You could play that music along with this because it is kind of wacky. But yeah, I mean, this we've talked about this book plenty of times. It's just weird stuff. Hickman has even said he doesn't have a big plan. This is just whatever comes to mind. Next up, we got Annihilator from Legendary. This is Grant Morrison and Fraser Irving. I got a kick out of the first issue.
I was really hoping you weren't going to call him the Legendary Grant Morrison. I was going, whoa. Oh, that's right. That's the publisher. Okay.
By Legendary Comics or Publishing or whatever. And legend in his own mind, Grant Morrison.
I like the title, the little subtitle at the bottom there.
God hates you. This was an interesting book, an interesting first issue. It's got a writer writing about a writer, which sometimes can get a little, up in itself. The character, it was kind of hard to tell if there were two completely independent storylines going, or if the second storyline was just the story that the writer was writing. But then the character from the story that the writer was writing shows up. It's all of this is kind of built around a black hole at the center of the galaxy, which is the metaphor for the black hole at the center of our souls and for the prisons that we can't escape from. It's some weird, heady Grant Morrison stuff. It's not all going. Either it's not going to click together until the end, or it's not going to click together. This is a little bit more of that Grant Morrison, but it's been good stuff. And just some fantastic artwork by Fraser Irving as well. So the first issue was good enough and weird enough for me to keep going. So we're going to keep going. Next up, Miracle Man number 12. As I mentioned last week, this is 2 weeks in a row we've got a Miracle Man book. This is where it gets real. This is where we get the great, huge finale that everyone's kind of become aware of. This is where we learn about Miracle Woman. This is her origin. And we learn a little bit more about the aliens that were kind of essentially behind the creation of Miracle Man inadvertently. But this is great stuff. Gorgeous artwork by John Toldebin. I've been recommending this book, all along. I have the original running issues. I have the original trade paperbacks. I'm picking it up this way, and I'll get the omnibus when it's done too, because this is one of the great comic book stories of the '80s. And I've said many times, I actually think it's a better book than Watchmen.
Okay.
So, next up, Thanos, A God Up There Listening. I almost didn't get this.
Right, you said
because,
that.
I was under the impression it was written by a writer that I'm not terribly fond of, and then it turns out that I was mistaken as to who the writer was. And Thanos is one of my favorite characters, possibly my favorite character, or at least possibly my favorite villain. But in the wrong hands, he doesn't work.
True.
So, when it's...
And I think this is his son, actually, so it's not even fully a Thanos story.
Yeah, this ties into what happened after Infinity.
Okay.
So I know, like, at the end of Infinity, Thanos was trapped in some sort of a cube of some sort. And yeah, this is his son, Thane. So I don't really know what the plot of this is. Like I said, originally I was under the impression it was by a different writer not a writer whose work I generally like, so I was planning on avoiding it. But then today I saw that it was a different writer, so we'll give it a shot. We'll see.
Okay.
Like I said, sometimes, certainly Jim Starlin writes Thanos like nobody's business. I think Dan Abnett, Andy Lanning, Brian Michael Bendis, all these guys have done great Thanos stories. But I've also read some horrible Thanos stories from some writers that don't quite get the voice of the character. At least don't quite get what I like about the character.
Right.
Actually, Jason Aaron did a phenomenal job. But he does a phenomenal job on everything.
Agreed.
So yeah, we'll give this a shot. We'll see. This is a mini-series that picks up after Infinity. I think this was one of those Marvel Infinity comics originally to their digital firsts. So we'll give it a shot, see what's up with that. Next up, we've got Amazing Spider-Man number 7. This is inching towards Spider-Verse. They've had these Spider-Man Spider-Verse backup stories where all the different Spider-Men from across the universe are being hunted by someone, and they're going to have to assemble the army of alternate universe Spider-Men to eventually take this on.
I wanted to say Spider-Man. My buddy Scott Greenberg used to always have a joke that he thought all the superheroes would always vacation in Strongsville, Ohio.
Yeah.
And he also implied then that the superheroes were all Jewish. You know, like the Spider-Mans and the Supermans.
The Supermans, the Batmans. And this is Dan Slott and Christos Gage. This one apparently is guest starring the new Ms. Marvel. I tried the first couple issues of the Ms. Marvel book. It was pretty solid, but
it's been popular.
Ultimately, not one that I really clicked with. As you got, there's a lot of books out there. You can't get them all.
Right.
So yeah, this is. Oh God, that would be terrible. So yeah, this is I'm sure it's been a popular book. It was a book they did not expect to succeed as well as it has.
Right.
So
they were hoping, but yeah, it's really blowing up.
It's clicking. They're giving her a guest spot in Spider-Man. Get some high profile. Maybe they can get some of the Spider-Man readers to try Ms. Marvel. And if you haven't, give it a shot. It actually is a good book. But if just check it out in here and see what that's like. Got another Ms. Marvel costumed blue woman, probably some sort of Kree thing. I don't know, but this has been a solid book. I mean, they finished up their first story arc with Electro,
Right.
and now this is probably just some filler while they're still building towards Spider Verse. Next up, Avengers number 36. This is continuing. Time runs out in 7 months. Time will run out, and the rest of the Marvel Universe will catch up to where the Avengers are here. It's a little confusing when you jump ahead 8 months. There's different people on the team. People are missing. The Illuminati are on the run, along with some members of the Illuminati that weren't Illuminati the last time we looked. So this is really just sort of filling us in. I think it's probably going to take us 8 months to figure out exactly where we are. But people are on the hunt for the Illuminati. Other people are now in charge of the Avengers, and we're still getting more of this. There's some sort of weird dimensional problems cropping up, and apparently they're still claiming that the stuff with the broken time stream and with all of the other things that have been damaging the universe and the incursions that have been happening,
Right.
All that stuff's tied together, and all that's going to play out here. Marvel's been kind of very coyly hinting at the possibility of a reboot, although they're hinting at it so coyly that anybody who's been around the block knows that that's not what's coming. But something's coming, some big cosmic multiversal that will change everything the way you know it. But this has got Hyperion and Starbrand and Night Mask, who were introduced in here. Plus, we've got Thor, who no longer has Mjolnir, but he has his big old axe. And I don't think he calls himself Thor. I think he calls himself Unworthy or something like that. But we all know he eventually becomes worthy again.
Right.
Next up, we've got Green Lantern Corps number 35. This is continuing the Godhead storyline. I actually like this so far.
Yeah. Okay.
So in the 2 issues that came out last week, the New Gods were visiting the Source Wall. And if you have been reading Green Lantern, you realize that Kyle Rayner crossed over into the Source Wall along with the entities and refilled the cosmic spectrum reservoir. The New Gods are wondering how this happened because the Source Wall is supposed to be impenetrable. So they do some research, they realize that these combined lantern rings were able to penetrate the Source Wall, so they decide, let's go get us some lantern rings. And they go and gather up one of each of the rings, including the only blue and orange rings, put them together, and find out that doesn't work. Because, as you kind of recall, putting all of them together doesn't necessarily create a white lantern. You have to do a little bit more than that.
Right.
So now they've decided they have to find Kyle. They have to find the one white lantern because he can get them to pierce the Source Wall, which will give them the secrets of the life equation and will give them the ability to beat Darkseid once and for all. But in the meantime, they realize that these rings are far too powerful to be wielded by mortals, so they're going to eliminate all of the cores. So we get another big fight. This time it's not the universe against the Green Lantern Corps, it's the New Gods versus all of the lanterns. Sinestro's not too happy about getting his ring stolen, or one of his members' ring stolen. Interesting stuff. Another great big Green Lantern crossover. But for me, the fun part is just seeing these new interpretations of the New Gods, which
cool.
All have been pretty good so far. Next up, Batman Eternal number 27. This is another one that's hard to talk about because there's so many pieces. But this one looks like it's going to feature Catwoman a little bit. One of the things that we find out, which was kind of interesting, is the current crime boss of Gotham was the Penguin. The previous crime boss was Falcone, 2 bird-themed guys. Prior to Falcone, there was a guy who was a lion-themed crime boss. I don't remember exactly what his name was, but he turns out to be in prison. And he reveals that his daughter is Catwoman. And that he's telling her it's time for her to give up this silly cat burglar stuff that she's been doing and take her rightful place as the head of all of Gotham's crime families. So I'm guessing that's kind of where this is going. So some interesting stuff. Meanwhile, things are going crazy in Gotham in the supernatural realms. Things are going crazy up top too because all kinds of weird stuff is going on, and Gotham's under martial law, under a commissioner that everybody thought was a good guy, but hey, it turns out he's not a good guy. And complicated stuff. They've got a lot of things going on here, and you'll forget about stuff between issues, and they go, oh yeah, I remember that. We got Hush, we got Spoiler, we got pretty much everybody in the Batman family of characters popping up at one time or another. Good stuff.
All right. Well, I guess that brings me to the top of my stack here. This is a book I've been looking forward to, primarily because of the creative team. Don't know entirely a lot about it. I can presume some things from the cover. This is Witches #1 by Image Comics.
With a
this
Y.
is with a Y. This is Scott Snyder and Jock doing this here. It looks like it's going to be a story of a supernatural band with witches. The art looks great. Jock's stuff is fantastic. I really like Scott Snyder's writing, and I'll be honest, I prefer when he's not writing for the big two. I like it when he's doing his own thing. I loved Severed. I liked The Wake. I thought The Wake was great. I kind of didn't entirely understand what happened at the end, but I do generally like it when he's not really, and I guess that's big two, but still not really, not playing in the DC universe. Right. So I'm really looking forward to this book. Like I said, I'm not entirely sure what the story is. Again, can presume that it's got some witches and supernatural element and things of that nature, but don't know who the main character is or what that's focusing around. Looks like a young girl here. But yeah, should be some cool stuff. Scott Snyder and Jock, they kind of started out doing American Vampire there together. That was wasn't Jock doing American Vampire?
It was Raphael Albuquerque.
Oh, was it Albuquerque? Then what did he? I thought he did work on something with Jock early on.
Jock did some, I think.
Okay.
Of, American Vampire, but I think it was originally the first.
Okay, that's right.
I got a Scott Snyder book as my top pick too. This is a big Snyder week because Batman Eternal is also kind of somewhat written by him. I didn't make this my top pick until I actually got here and saw it and flipped through it. This is Batman #35. This is the beginning of Endgame, which I hope it's not Scott Snyder's final storyline on Batman. So I don't know what Endgame means, but I guess we will find out. There wasn't a lot of advanced information about this book that I saw, at least. But come in here and find out that it's Batman versus the Justice League. That's always a lot of fun when you've got the guy who's got absolutely no powers whatsoever, usually outsmarting a bunch of people who are far more powerful than he is. Interesting stuff, but that's not what really did it. But while I was flipping, we got Batman in some big badass bat armor. We got Aquaman, we got Superman, we got everybody there. But the thing that really did it is there's I'm not gonna show you. Well, actually,
I'll look.
You don't read this book.
Yeah, I don't read it anyway. Interesting.
So yeah, there's a little twist at the end there that was not expected. That I guess.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
So yeah, this that alone, the last page of this made me go, okay, I got to see how they got there, and I definitely want to see where they go from there. So yeah, Scott Snyder, after kind of a soft ending on Batman Year Zero. I mean, it was a good ending, but it was kind of, I think the Year Zero drew out a little bit. Then we had a 1 month break.
The problem is they're making him write these events rather than just letting him tell a story.
Right.
And I'm sure he is just telling a story, but then they make it an event.
Yeah,
so
they
then
make
when it has a soft ending, to which would be fine if it was just a story, you're like, ah.
So let's see. I'm curious about this. Like I said, this was not my top pick until I saw that last page, and then it was like, that's clever. All right. Now I'm interested. Now you got me. So don't flip to the last page.
Yeah, don't do that.
Or if you do,
you've been warned.
It'll make you go, I got to check that out.
It will turn you slightly French. You will go, ha.
Yeah, Scott Snyder. That's his ultimate plan, is to create Frenchmen. But
and now this is just a slight note on this book. This is that $4.99 book.
Yeah,
Scott Snyder was resisting that price increase. And,
true.
But here's where it starts.
And and however, it is an exercise book. There's a beautifully drawn backup feature. It's written by James Tinian, but some fantastic art by Kelly Jones.
Yeah, it looks great.
Who's done some? There's him again.
Yeah.
Kelly Jones done some pretty amazing Batman stuff.
I love the tall, crazy bat ears.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing about Kelly Jones is Batman.
There's if you like Kelly Jones artwork, you get some more of it here.
Awesome.
So,
it looks
really
great.
Dark, creepy, moody stuff. And so yeah, it's $4.99, but you're getting extra pages. You're getting a book and a half, really.
Okay.
So yeah, I know that's tough, but hey, if it's good and you get a lot of it,
it's true.
What are you complaining about?
Yeah, if they're stuffing extra things at you that you don't want at all, that's makes
right.
A little tough. But if they're giving you a little extra,
backup reprints, I'm not that fond of. But
no.
Backups, especially backups drawn as well as this, so backups by some editor's younger brother's friend is one thing, but backups by actually real top-notch professionals who I would like to see do more Batman stuff.
Yes.
That's worth it.
But that is a rather light week.
Yeah.
Some good stuff in there though. So be sure to check those out, and that is your Week in Geek.